यो हाय Amitu.
Yo, man.
ठीक है, without much further ado we can start. So
Okay. So last time we were like talking about sales, and as a founder, especially founders who are like us, right? We are both techies, and I believe like the tech founders tend to have this problem, or at least I definitely have this problem. I feel like maybe more people will have this, that we don't know how to sell, or I think, or basically, where does this thought come from that we don't know how to sell, right? We may be very good at selling, but somehow we feel that we are not good at selling because I feel, and in fact, actually, if you think about what kind of things I would do when people tell me, hey, you should start selling, right? Because if you look at me, I've been working on Fast and for close to 4 years, and virtually very few people know. Even in my network, probably people don't know what is fasting beyond like the fact that I'm working on fasting. So I've been traditionally very quiet person and inward looking, and I feel like that's a whole set of person, a lot of people in that category, and they do get this advice, right? I get this advice a lot from virtually everywhere that you should start selling now. Enough building, start worrying about the market and marketing and other stuff, right? So I feel like people keep on advising me, hey, you have to sell, and I feel like there's some sort of thing which is telling me no, right? Like I don't want to sell because there's some notion I have in my mind, and in fact, when I overcome that internal no, somehow, let's say it's like somehow inhibition. I have some inhibitions. So somehow, if I forcefully overcome it, and the kind of things that I think I want, other people want me to do, when I start doing that, right, then it kind of doesn't really succeed also. So that's the second problem, right? If somehow I overcome that inhibition, because I feel like I have a wrong sense of idea of what is selling. So for example, when I overcome the inhibition of selling and I start selling, I do it in the form of talking about fast and virtually everywhere. Like I feel like most people I'm talking to, I'm talking about naturally whatever is occurring to me, and suddenly I'm forcefully, oh my god, now I have to start selling faster. So I have to kind of forcefully bringing faster into topic, even when it is probably not natural, when it feels like I'm over hogging the time talking about faster, right? So that's not like naturally coming to me. I am doing it because I feel like that is what I is being asked of me, uh, because people are telling me you have to market faster, right? So I believe that is wrong, and I believe that's because my notion of how to sell itself is slightly wrong, which is that I take the notion of how to sell from, let's call it the used car salesman, this thing, right? The persona that you have. If you watch those movies where they say this guy challenges someone in the bar, oh, I can sell anything, right? Like if you really think about the at least popular culture salesmen, these are people are very different. They are very, how do I say, they have this suit, they have this glib personality, they speak fast, and that's like whole persona. It's like we try to adopt that. We think that these guys are like small talk, right? So the moment you think about sales, it's like, oh, you have to do small talk, you have to wine and dine with people, and you have to just talk about. It doesn't matter what it like. What is the importance of small talk? Small talk is basically because I can't talk medical with you. You're a doctor. I cannot talk any, like if I am a salesperson and if I have to talk to 10 random person, I can not go and figure out what is like they are deeply passionate about, right? Like so salespeople are forced to talk about these casual stuff because that's the only topic on which they can just have lots of words, and they just want to justify that, oh, we are good at small talk. And sure, they are good at it, meaning that you and me will become suddenly tongue tied when we are forced in front of another professional people. So for good reason that, how do I say, persona exists. But ultimately, I starting to believe that I can never adopt that persona. It will be very, and I believe a lot of people have this, and therefore even investors and even their family, etc., and everyone will be telling, hey, you need to get a business guy. So what I'm realizing is that doesn't work for me. So when I go from sitting coding to sales persona, I do what I believe is the right thing that people are telling me to do. I might be joking that they are whatever, but they are doing the right thing. There's a right reason to be like that. But that doesn't work for our industry. So that's the realization. When I do that, that would have worked had I been selling a general product to a general audience. But because I'm selling something to techies are like very special audience, right? We as techies are like the only guys who will be installing ad blockers. We are the only guys who, as soon as they come across anything which is like, we are pros at how do I skip ads on every platform, right? Like so that sense, techies are particularly susceptible, and for the right reason, because we make like $1 trillion in salary annually, right? So we are sold a lot. Virtually every platform you use, they're all. So for whatever reason, we are very good at. We have super sense of, oh, this person is selling, and the moment somebody is selling, we feel like this person is selling, we immediately have this like walk off. So I know that I am myself exactly that, right? So I cannot blame the people who I become salesy at. They're getting feeling put off. So, and that is all happening because I have this notion, and the right answer obviously is, when I talk to people, right? Like for example, virtually every discussion I ever had with virtually every geek was selling. That's the realization. Just that you can argue, oh, you were not selling your own stuff. Maybe that's the kind of the mistake I am doing, because I've been talking about how awesome Django is, or how awesome. Like I don't believe that I can think of, like last time we were talking about how awesome Tailscale is and blah blah. We naturally, this is what we do. You can argue that we are weirdly people who only talk about sales stuff, right? Just that we are selling something always, like, right? So we're not talking about cricket or like, you're getting it. We are almost talking about some software and how that software is so cool and you should probably give it a shot. 80% of my conversation, if like I know, yeah, sometimes conversation happen other ways, but this is the best spot for me. I feel like if you look at the best time, right, somebody telling you, oh my god, you can do this in Vim, or you can do like, suddenly then that really deep conversation happens about, you can do this in some software. Suddenly we are really into it, right? That for us, that is the best conversation. So that's why I think I'm asked to do the best conversation, but instead of doing the best conversation, either I'm feeling that the best conversation is something that people will be put off, or I'm doing the best conversation but in a wrong way. So that's my this thing on selling. All techies are very good at selling, and we just probably are very good at mixing it. So we have to figure that out. Why is the same conversation so something that we are so passionately and doing so well, when we start doing it for our own? So why does it not work well? Not we have to change the whole thing. Just maybe we have to be smart about it. Like, that's the sophisticated salesman approach, right? You don't want to be in your face. Like virtually, you can say every good salesman is not generally just telling you, oh, just buy this car right now. They are talking about how are your kids, like, because you are doing those conversations. In the conversation, it comes out key. Remember the Michael Walla scene in that, if you have seen The Office, and that's a very great scene in which, he's with a woman and she is like the right person. Like, she's like talking about the product and Michael is shown as a very, very like an idiot kind of person. And they are sitting with a client in a bar, and the Michael is talking about some random jokes, and she's like, yeah, come on, tell him the benefits of, my company is offering. And this guy is just talking about, bachpan mein I was like this. And at the end of it, Michael gets the sale. And the reason Michael gets the sale is because he was doing what he was doing, and not because of the lady who was like, had he done what the lady would have. So that's what I'm saying. I feel like if you see that scene, I feel like I was trying to do the stuff that the lady does, but actually I'm supposed to do what really Michael does in that scene. And yeah, so that's very interesting. That means that I can sell. That means that you can sell. I feel like this whole random stuff that, oh, techies cannot do the business, be the business owner and CEO, etc. I just think that's past. Techies should be one, because we can build everything. We should do the rest of the stuff also. Like, I have a question, right? Like, so let's. If you are in my position right now, you are a techie, you have built a programming language, you have spent 3-4 years plus on it, and now you feel like it's almost ready, right? Now you have to take it to the world. You want to somehow, do the sales stuff. If you are in my position, for example, what will you do? What kind of advice you give me?
So I was just thinking about this, and I think So selling for me, I think it's a mixture of value plus attention grabbing, right? So like for example, when you're creating, right, मतलब that is the value you're creating. So it should be very foundational. Okay, so you build with lot of right things, okay, very ideal things basically. But when you're selling, I think it should be also, मतलब you should specify the value also, and but it should be very flashy as in, like for example, not misrepresenting or misquoting the things, but like for example, uh, very nonsensical things, very trivial things, okay. Like for example, like Dogecoin, right? It has no value, but it appeals because of the Doge meme, right?
Mhm.
Same Nyan cat and everything. Like for example, recently I was surfing and then I found this app called some sort of cat DB basically. So it gives you API to fetch random details about cat. Okay, and it's I
Mhm.
don't find any use of it. Okay, but again, people are paying for it to use it, right? So I think it's that. I think you should make something like very uh, very nonsensical, but it could, let's say, be, it can go viral or something like that, right?
Got it. So flashy, somehow attention grabbing, instead of being very technical and very, like
Yeah,
talking about the benefits or something, just show something cool and awesome.
correct,
Obviously, have some substance that is already
correct.
implied, but just don't focus on, like, it's like you can argue Apple does that very well, right?
Huh.
They may do something really really deep technically, but what they talk about is very cool looking, wow,
Correct,
jazzy animation, good music.
correct.
That's I feel roughly what he's saying. You focus
Yeah.
on those superficial aspects as well, not
Yes,
just on
yes,
the,
yes.
yeah, totally.
ठीक है. So these days I'm building something, and I'm working on something, and then so it's very basic and trivial things, right? So I don't know how to talk about them. ठीक है. Also, like for example, I'm reading few things, but again, it all are basic things, right? Learning things, but it all basic things, right? So I don't know how to discuss about them. ठीक है.
Hmm.
So मतलब how should we talk about these simple and basic things, right? Like for example, I don't know, like then again it would become very surface level things, yeah, for very, yeah, for example, I'm trying to sell myself or sell my what I learned, right? So
Right.
how to talk about them?
Right. So yeah, so this is exactly what I'm saying. The mistake I did was not to talk about it on early stage, and you are probably facing the same dilemma, right? Ki, hey, I don't want to talk about it because I feel like I don't have something to show yet, right? Because I have something in my mind which you are building towards. So, and I would say that's again true for virtually all techies, because we have this feeling that, so consider effort, right? So you might be worried about, or at least I was in the very early stage worried about, ki, whatever I'm talking about right now, you could have built it in a weekend. Like, sure, not as much as. So when the first version of the language I created, I realized ki it's just a language and it doesn't have any, like, I have not contributed any new concept in the language building. I just had some small syntax. But my feeling is ki, looking back, I should have started at your stage, and you should start now. Is what my advice to you. And it's this is the explanation, right? Ki why we feel like shy about it is because we feel like we have not done anything. But when we talk about what we have done, we tend to think in terms of, how much effort would a regular developer would require to build what we have just built. So we always think of our contribution and measure it in terms of how much effort we have put in them so far. And I feel like we have put a lot of effort, so this is definitely worth talking. Otherwise, it's not worth talking. Which is a wrong thing, because business almost never rewards effort. Right? Think about business, right? Like, who cares what is the effort? Ultimately, business rewards the value that we are providing, right? And a very good example of that is Wikipedia, where if I asked you how long will it take for you to create Wikipedia, because you don't even have to create authentication. Think about that site, right? If you have to, the Django tutorial probably covers more technology than what Wikipedia covers, because you just are looking at a text box, put something to say, there's just one table, right? Think about this is the simplest possible project. And I would argue for multiple years, the Wikipedia was just that, right? Because there were earlier no spam problem because nobody knew about Wikipedia. It took years and years before there were like even 1,000 articles on the Wikipedia, right? So, but for whatever the article was there, Wikipedia was providing tremendous value because that was labor of love, right? So any article which was on Wikipedia tend to be of higher quality than the stuff. So people started getting value. The value you get is not necessarily related with the effort that you put in. So if you are looking at and analyzing your project from the point of view of the end user, and what value are you giving to that end user? Right now, if I ask you, okay, sure, you must have built something. Is there anyone right now, if they basically, the real question for you should be only this, and that is the existential question for you. Are you really, if I bring it a person, would they like what you're building, right? Would their life be improved? If you think they will actually legitimately not like what I'm building, then sure, right? Then that puts a question mark on you. Why are you even building it, right? But if you think, okay, yes, it will help them, but I can't yet talk about to investor. Like investor will tend to ask for numbers, and techies will tend to ask about technology, right? So both of them are wrong people. The right people is the audience who is going to use your product. So you should just talk about, like, I am your audience, right? I'm not thinking about investing in you, or I'm looking at your technology. Like, how will you tell me, hey, Amitu, I want this for you. You can improve your life through this. So if you can convince me, you should start trying to convince me on day one, even before you started writing code, etc. So, and yeah, you should probably try to figure out what is it, like, why you would, selling a dream wala portion, right? Forget the implementation. What is the dream? What is the vision? Why do you think a lot of struggle with very uncertain rewards? So there must be some thought going on, right? So you have to develop that thought, and you talk about that thought, and not key how much progress you made, how many customers you got. Those things will if you focus on them, you'll not be able to speak about it in front of others. So that's my this thing. You figure out that question. If you're shy, because if not, just start. Because most likely that's the thing. If I ask you right now, can you just talk? You'll probably be tongue tied, and that's because you have not thought about it. Because this thought only doesn't come. Usually, you'll start thinking about it when you go to investor, which is not a great time to start doing this thinking. Right? You should do it at the very very beginning. I got lucky that YC forced me to do. I applied in YC as soon as I quit my job. And like exactly 2 months after my last date in ACO was the application date. So I had to immediately, you were there with me, helping with the YC application, right? So I was thinking about before I had virtually anything in my hand, right? Sure, I had some code here and there, but ultimately what I have today compared to that was just a very, very tiny thing. So, but YC made me think about the value proposition and stuff. So if you can think in terms of value prop, think in terms of who will benefit, kisi ki to you're solving somebody's pain. So if you concretize that, and if you're confident, yes, I'm solving a pain, I think you'll have a lot to talk. Already started talking. Yeah, you're not saying anything wrong. You're absolutely you're associating. You're identifying. This is the space. So space question is purely like there's no reason. There is no milestone that you have to hit before you hit this. Talk about space, right? Let me ask you. What do you think you would have done after which you think it will no longer be that, and you will be happy to talk about it? You must have some idea in your head.
Huh.
I'm just saying that idea is what you should talk about, right? Because you will
First step.
believe that. You will achieve that. There is no reason. Like, are you really thinking that you can't achieve that?
कर लेंगे बहुत बेसिक ही है.
Exactly. Precisely. But then, if you really think about it logically, there is no reason for you not to talk about it.
But then where to talk about it and what to talk about it?
No, that's what I'm saying. It's not going to be like where, as in like that's what I'm trying to say. We sell best when we are not thinking about the questions like what you're asking right now. When it comes out in the natural conversations we are having on a day-to-day basis. So you're not looking for some opportunity.
Got it.
When you're looking for opportunity, meaning that you're ready for launch. You're like, okay, I have every conversation. That's why you almost are on the same path as me, where you're like, oh shit, after this has happened, every conversation where I will talk about it, right? That would be the wrong thing. Talk about it from now, so that at that point you'll say, "Hi, we have been talking about 6 months. I made some progress there or whatever, right?" So that would be the right way to do it. And if you when it becomes natural for you to do it, it will be the right. I feel like that's how we are good at.
So
That's
I think matlab, it's like building in public wala philosophy, right?
exactly because that's what I'm saying. That's the only way we can sell. We can't sell by bringing like Apple की सब कुछ closed door में बैठा हुआ है and we created this perfect thing and then open किया और वो हो गया, right? Had we had that persona कि हम लोग खड़े होकर के वैसे कर सकें एक बार keynote speech देंगे Steve Jobs की तरह, we are not that. That's what I think. If you are hoping कि someday that keynote will happen and I will just present my idea to the world, you'll fail, or you'll hope that there is some marketing guy who comes and does that for you. It'll be hard for us to just have, we
I think
all want to be Steve Jobs and do that, but I don't think it's realistic. I don't know. I know I can't do that.
I think there's a fear of
It'll be
failure
too.
also. Na, कि मतलब for example, if I talk about it and let's say if I don't do it, या if I fail, ठीक है, then मतलब एक probably some sort of humiliation मेरे ही दिमाग में है शायद वो, ठीक है. I think वो fear of
But
failure ही है, I guess.
do you think even when you launch the product, even after 1 year of you successfully selling the product, do you think there is no failure? उसके बाद में failure नहीं होगा,
हाँ.
right? Every startup who has launched it, let's say, is in business for more than a year. Do you think they have any higher chance or lesser chance of failure? I would say it's the same. So failure will happen. It will move from 99.9 to 99, right? Think about that. After launching, after 1 year from now, the chances of failure have only gone from 99.9 to 99 point, right, percent. Like it's not gone from 99.9% to 20%. Yeah, 80% I will definitely succeed. I can assure you that. 1 year, 2 years, that's what it takes to stay in startup, right? Because you know that number will remain very high for significant period of time. So then you'll never be able to talk about it, which would be bad. Then you're ensuring that your startup doesn't work because then you're not doing marketing or sales for your company. So you have no option but to accept the possibility that you will fail in public. But still talk about it in public.
Again, a lot of food for thought. ठीक है.
So I was recently talking about this remembering this game that I used to play with my brother. For the sake of this thing, I'll call it observation game. So the game was very like this, me and my brother, there were a bunch of rules, all the made up rules for this game. The rules were of this nature. For example, let's say we are both going and met someone. Let's say we went to a relative's house or any. Basically, it was an always on game. It was not like you're playing like a Monopoly, you start and stop. So at any point, I'm supposed to go and tell my brother, see, so we both had equal opportunity to observe something, and who managed to make the observation first? That was the game. Okay. So if you and me both go and enter a room, let's say, and hypothetically there is a dead mouse in the house, in that room, and it's in corner, it's not really smelling. Let's just say that it is notable, right? So you mean when I say the first person who observes something wins, but observe what? Because like there's always stuff all around you. So when you're observing, you have to observe the most notable, most interesting thing in that situation. And most things will be not notable. Most things will be, okay, there are 6 cups. Unless those 6 cups, are aligned in one straight line. That would be a weird thing. That is something worth observing. It's worth noticing. Something is odd is happening here. So everywhere you go, and the rule, it forced both of us to become hyper attentive. Because, if I don't observe it, he will observe it and I'll say shit. And you have to speak it. So you can't just say, oh, I also saw it. That was not allowed, right? Like that is weaseling out. So the rule was very explicit. When you observe something, you have to call it out. go to the other person and uh, tell them, see, I observed this. You failed to do it. So like there was probably point system or what. It was just competitive. It was not really like who is winning or losing. It was just. So I feel like it really made more both of us very uh, observant, very curious, very in the in like in the like we are not distracted by. Okay, I'm just lost in my book, right? I enter the house. If you look at my, it's kind of coming from my realization. Okay, I'm probably losing that power that I had, where my brain is not fully stuffed in that phone. That I am not observing things that are around happening around me. So that was a so I feel, but yeah, this is a great game, and you can, let's say, if you have kids or if you have, like, in general, like, you can start. Like, it's hard to play alone. I don't know, but maybe you can. Well, you will have to be on a lookout. Basically, you can play it alone. A single person game can be if you kind of mentally penalize yourself. Shit, why didn't I observe it? Because this was notable, right? If something is happening around you and it was notable and you failed to notice it, yeah, it could have killed you, right? It could have had consequences. You could have missed a great opportunity. There's a great actor or whatever, around you, and you just missed it. Obviously, you can argue that everyone is playing that game, just that the rewards and punishments are very, very like low. So you're like very playing it very poorly. Is what I'm trying to say. You're playing it poorly. You can choose to just play it more seriously, and that will make you a better person and more interesting person. I don't know what will happen, but it will. It's a great brain game.
But if you become I'm not sure, I'm not sure to say good or not, but I think it has its rewards. ठीक है.
Hmm.
ठीक है. Like for example, when you observe something and when you speak about it, right, it is very rewarding. Like for example, uh, like ट्रैक पे, ठीक है, in my ट्रैक, ठीक है, there was a very मतलब basically there was a this post check post, and then there was this joke written on it, ठीक है,
Hmm.
and joke was written like in parts, ठीक है, ठीक है. So it was like कि at one place it was written free Wi-Fi, and the other place it was written password is just kidding, ठीक है. ठीक है. And it was such a high altitude, ठीक है. And then I looked at the officer who was there, and he started laughing. And when I told my tech mates, ठीक है, do you want to see a joke, and मतलब it was very rewarding to observe that, ठीक है.
Yeah. No, no. So we used to love this game because obviously it gave us a lot of like feeling of superiority because other people, because when we started doing ourselves, we realized when we are with our classmates, other classmates, we realized that they're just failing to observe so much happening around them.
Yeah.
And I am the one who telling me see that, and they would like, yeah, how can you see all of this? Like, what is that? So they started appreciating and thinking, yeah, ये बंदा तो मतलब I don't know, he never misses anything or whatever. It was just like that, right? So it does. It makes you smarter. I think that's a very good distinction. If there are 10 people and only one of them observes something, you can almost conclude that probably was a smarter person in that group. Like, I mean, there's no reason. Like, think about it. Like, would you be saying that the person who didn't observe something which was obvious and in their presence is the smarter person in the group? What about that guy who's observing things, right? That guy must be smarter. That is somehow an indication of smartness to quickly observe things. And yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I created a very interesting, or at least to me, very interesting game corollary, like another game derived from this game, like similar to the rules of this. So the game was something like the same game, but for a painting. So basically, the game was this: ki you take any painting, like you go to any museum or wherever you come across a painting, and it particularly works better with bad paintings, or rather bad artists. If you're a good artist, it doesn't really lead to any interesting stuff. So you observe everything. So for example, there looks like a lady in the painting. It looks like she's probably angry, and looks like there's a sunset there. Like if I it's like a prompt. It's a reverse prompt, right? If you know the image and you wanted to prompt to chat GPT, create an image which like this, right? So you will be observing all the how do you salient points of this painting, right? Is it day in the day or night? Is it far away, the lady far away or close to you? Because so try to reverse prompt yourself. Think about the right prompt that you will use. And the winning first part is a two-part game. So first part is that the prompt, the person who comes up with a better prompt, right? Uh, let's say we both create a prompt and ChatGPT generates an image or whatever, any of those image generator, and we'll compare the actual painting with the two images that we have both generated, right? I am again basically saying if the image that my this thing prompt has generated is closer to the image than yours, and if it keeps on consistently happening, then it tells us something about our some ability, right? So, some sort of intelligence ability. This is so so that is the first, which is basically extracting the essence of something, right? That's what we are doing, taking a painting and extracting the essence of thing. And then the second part, which is probably even controversial, or this thing is it's my theory, that if you look at a painting which has 10 observations, let's say, and you realize it is not really 11th observation, and this looks like these 10 observations explain the painting. There's nothing really else going on which is worth observing. Now you have to come with a story or interpretation of the painting. And here the rule is, again, if we agree, both of us agree on 10 observations, you come up with one interpretation and I come up with another interpretation. How many observations are explained by this interpretation? So that has to be part of the interpretation. If I'm saying if the lady is far away, you can say, oh, it doesn't matter. The story that I'm telling you explains the other aspect. So I'll ask you, but why is the lady so far away? Especially if the observation look like the lady is too far away, because then you have to say lady is being either dying or people are forgetting about her, or some way you have to explain that fact. Why is lady, which is obvious because that's what you have observed in the first part. So in the first part you observed, oh, looks like the lady is very far away. So your explanation must now explain this point. If you can't explain that, then your explanation obviously is inferior to my explanation, because my explanation is explaining more points, more observable points in that painting. And then the controversial meta part is whatever observation I come up with, even if the painter comes back and say that is not what I was painting, I was painting something else, I have the right to say you're a bad painter in that case. You could not paint what you wanted to paint. You ended up painting this, and my observation is correct. Right? That's like I have the right to tell that to the painter. Is my relatively controversial opinion on this topic. This is completely subjective, and all of these steps are subjective. Today, all of these are objective because you can virtually take the first part of it, right? You can ChatGPT becomes a great this thing for you, right? You can test which prompt is better by just doing this and asking 100 people. So you can. What I'm trying to say is, objectively, you can analyze a painting, which is considered like what are you saying? It's art. No, that's bullshit. This is nuts.
ठीक है, cool. Thanks, Amitu. Bye.